Part 28. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 271. Chapter 271 Red Wool Blanket. Xiaoling is also waiting. Li Lei turned slightly, gently took the blanket off her body, and put it on Gulin, who was shivering from the cold. I actually chose Gulin the onlooker's side, and they couldn't tell whether it was disappointment or injustice. Gulin grabbed the big red woolen blanket and her mood instantly improved. Her face was no longer green and she was no longer trembling. She said to Li Lei, "Brother Lei, I know you are the best and know how to be considerate to others." After saying that, he looked at Xiaoling triumphantly. As for some people, they are just sparrows, so don't daydream about flying up a branch and becoming a phoenix. "Oh, really?" Xiaoling said with a faint voice and looked at Li Lei. She wanted to see what kind of medicine the man in front of her was selling. Based on her understanding of him, this matter was definitely not over yet. Sure enough, Li Lei took off his coat and put it on Xiaoling's thin shoulders. Wow! The onlookers let out low exclamations. "It's definitely a twists and turns." The prop master chewed the melon seed peels and flew them everywhere. No wonder Boss Li was willing to give that blanket to Miss Gu. It turns out he was reluctant to give it to his own clothes. "Isn't that true?" the director responded. "I can distinguish between inside and outside very clearly." It was polite to put a blanket on Gulin. It was really considerate and distressing to give Xiaoling a coat. You can tell which one is more important at a glance. Xiaoling was covered in Li Lei's coat, and his body temperature was still attached to the comfortable touch, and a familiar aura surrounded her. She looked at him and smiled slightly. "You're quite a good person, aren't you?" Li Lei explained to her, "Grandpa Gu is so good to us, we can't give him any face." He made it very clear that putting a wool blanket on Gulin was not out of Gulin's affection, but because of her kindness. The face of the old man of the Gu family. Xiaoling felt happy. Li Lei said, "Let Gulin use that blanket first. Wash it in a few days and ask her to bring it back to you." After all, it was Xiaoling's thing, and he wanted to ask for her opinion. Xiaoling said, "Things used by others are too dirty." "What? How dare she think that the eldest daughter of the Gu family is dirty?" The onlookers were excited again. Where did this little star get the courage? "Don't you know that Miss Gu is stingy, careless, and vindictive?" "Sure enough," Gulin said loudly, "yes, Yingling. Don't go too far." She threw the blanket off her body angrily, and the red wool fabric was spread on the smooth floor into a gorgeous piece. "Who cares about your blanket?" As she said that, she stepped on it a few times, and the beautiful blanket was suddenly covered with her footprints. Xiaoling was also angry. This blanket was carefully selected by her from Paris. It carried so many memories of her and Li Lei, but now it was trampled on. She raised her head and looked at Gulin coldly. "Didn't you say you were cold?" "I'm not cold anymore." Gulin understood what she meant. Regardless of the water stains and goosebumps all over her body, she jumped on her feet and scolded, "What's so great about you? Give me this shabby blanket so that you can help Brother lay clothes. You are so thoughtful." Where is Xiaoling's scheming side? Everyone saw that it was obviously Boss Li who took the initiative to put it on her. "So, you're not actually cold, you just want to find trouble," Xiaoling said in a calm tone. "So what if you are looking for trouble?" Gulin simply imitated Xiaoling's previous behavior and acted like a rogue. "You bite me if you don't like it." "You bite me? You, ya." Plop. She was kicked into the water by Xiaoling. "This blanket," Xiaoling glanced at the red patch on the ground with some distress. "What a pity. Don't want it anymore." Turning a deaf ear to Gulin's struggles and scoldings in the water, Li Lei asked Xiaoling softly. Gulin threw the blanket just now, and he was also angry. He still remembered that he went shopping with Xiaoling. Under the noon sun in Paris, she walked around in the small store wearing this blanket, flying in the air. With her long hair and clothes and bright smile, it seemed like the whole world was shining with golden light. At that time, they were in love. There was no obstruction from the family, no misunderstandings or estrangements from Peizian. That was the most clear and transparent memory of the world that only belonged to them. But now, she was ruined by Gulin. There was also a trace of reluctance in Xiaoling's eyes, but after thinking about it, she still said, no more. She would only feel uncomfortable if she kept something that had been touched by a mentally retarded woman like that. I glanced at Li Lei and saw a hint of disappointment on his face, so I said, I'll go to Paris to buy one another day. I'll go with you, he cheered up. Okay, she smiled, as if the whole world was shining. Here, the two of them were showing off their affection as if no one else was watching, and over there, Gulin and a group of onlookers were almost blinded. Gulin climbed halfway out of the pool and saw Li Lei reaching out to touch Xiaoling's long hair with some pity. Suddenly, Gulin felt that she had lost the strength to climb out again and stayed in the pool in a daze. From the beginning to the end, Li Lei never looked at her again. Let's go, Xiaoling said to him, change your clothes and go to eat early. Li Lei nodded, hugged her and was about to walk out. After walking a few steps, he suddenly stopped and turned around. That blanket, he glanced around and saw Sister Maina standing in the crowd. Put it away and get rid of it. Even if it is something they don't want, they can't just leave it outside and let others mess with it. Sister Maina responded and immediately went to collect the blanket. Li Lei then left with Xiaoling. Gulin watched this scene, clenching her hands into fists, and her eyes wanted to make a hole in Xiaoling's back. Bitch, vixen, sooner or later, I will make you look good. She punched the pool, causing a large splash. The onlookers had just watched Xiaoling and the two leave. At this time, they all turned to look at Gulin. The men's eyes became ambiguous again. Tisk tisk, Miss Gu's breasts are not bad, they are real. Gulin quickly covered her chest with her hands. What are you looking at? Feeling angry and aggrieved, she yelled at Qian Yang, why don't you come over and help me? A group of men looked at him with sympathy and envy as he helped Miss Gu out of the pool. Don't you see I'm cold? Put something on me. How do you do it? Miss Gu was in a bad mood, and she had to protect her body tightly to prevent her glory from leaking out. She had a very bad temper. Where is there anything to wear? Even the blanket on the floor was taken away by Sister Maina. Okay. Qian Yang glanced at Sister Maina for help, meaning, borrow it for use. Sister Maina smiled coldly and gave a look of rejection with gloating. Qian Yang was about to cry. He had no choice but to grit his teeth and take off his coat like Boss Li did just now. Who wants your shabby coat? It's not even worthy of being used as a footcloth for me, Gulin yelled angrily. What's going on with this Qian Yang, a middle-aged bald man? Can he compare with her brother Lei? What a toad that wants to eat swan meat. Miss Gu was so angry that she almost went crazy. She didn't care about the cold water all over her body. She pushed away the crowd of spectators and ran out. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 272. Chapter 272 Sky-high endorsement fees. Changing room. Xiaoling took off her wet dance clothes and put on neat clothes. Li Lei came in and took a hairdryer to dry her hair. The originally wet long hair slowly became dry in his hands, and there was a faint fragrance in the light hair. They both enjoyed this rare peaceful time and did not speak for a long time. When her hair was almost dry, Li Lei put down the hairdryer, combed her hair with a comb, and said, "Okay, let's go." Xiaoling asked him, "Have you combed someone else's hair before?" "Well, yes." Li Lei was unprepared for a moment. "No wonder, the technique is pretty good." Xiaoling seemed to be smiling, but also humming. She stood up and walked outside. Classmate Li Xiaoli was stunned, then suddenly realized something and chased after him. "Hey, Xiaoling, don't be jealous, please listen to my explanation. I combed my grandma's hair. It's my grandma. His sad voice carried far in the corridor. Xiaoling felt very good, a smile appeared on her lips, and she slowed down her pace. Lilei caught up with her and walked side by side with her. Looking at his nervous expression, Xiaoling thought that maybe it would be a good idea to start over. The filming of Star Wings' commercial film Dreamland Elf has been completed, but it does not mean the end of the overall endorsement. Initially, the contract signed with Gu was an exclusive endorsement contract for 3 years. In other words, during these 3 years, Xiaoling could not accept other perfume advertisements, and Gu's Star Wings could only use Xiaoling, an actress. Now, only a year has passed. If Xiaoling continues to stay at Tianyi, it will not be a problem to finish this endorsement. The problem is, Xiaoling is leaving. The endorsement contract was signed between Tianyi and Gu on her behalf. If Xiaoling leaves Tianyi, Tianyi can only breach the contract, pay Gu's liquidated damages, and then terminate the contract. Tianyi can afford this small amount of liquidated damages. What cannot be compensated is the relationship between people. At the beginning, when Xiaoling was slandered by the emperor, an all-out war started, and her reputation was at its lowest point. The old man of the Gu family was willing to give her a chance in the nick of time and put the family's most important product into her hands. Now, she has done a flawless endorsement of Star Wings, which is the period when Star Wings sells best. If she leaves at this time, there will be no other actress in the world who can shoulder this important task. The image and sales of Star Wings will be greatly reduced, and all marketing plans will have to be reformulated, which will be a huge damage. Lilei understood the rationale. His family and the Gu family are family friends, and his Xiaoling has been favored by Mr. Gu. Even though Gu Lin was mentally retarded and Uncle Gu was very defensive, he could not let Xiaoling give up on the Gu family at this moment due to emotions, reasons, and morality. He discussed with Xiaoling, when you leave Tianyi, can you sign an endorsement contract with the Gu family? Xiaoling understood what he meant. I don't have a problem, as long as your childhood sweetheart doesn't come and cause trouble. I don't have a hobby of doing things for others despite being looked down upon. Lilei smiled. Gu Lin is not sensible and doesn't know what the wings of stars mean to her family or even her future. Fortunately, Grandpa Gu is a sensible person and will not let her act too randomly. I'm just afraid that Gu Lin will think that I am pestering Mrs. Gu. Xiaoling hummed. Lilei smiled again and comforted his little furry kitten, who can't live without whom. All smart people in the business world know it well. Besides, if you ask for a higher price, just treat it as mental damage fee. He took her delicate white hand and wrote a number on her palm. The price increase is so severe, Xiaoling was shocked. Lilei shrugged. Believe me, this is the limit that the Gu family can bear. Between being very heartbroken and reluctant to let you go, he has been friends with the Gu family for many years, and he is the big boss, so he has no idea how much the Gu family can bear. He knew full well that he had not quoted such a harsh price before because Mr. Gu was helping Xiaoling, but now, Gu Lin is making trouble again and again, and Boss Li is not someone to be trifled with. Besides, his Xiaoling is about to leave Tianyi and go solo, so he has to find more living expenses for her. Only when a woman has money around her can she have the confidence to not compromise on 5 buckets of rice. She can accept the announcements she wants to receive and reject the ones she doesn't want to receive. He wished her well. With his help, Gu re-signed an endorsement contract with Xiaoling personally. After hearing Xiaoling's asking price, Gu's father went crazy. Why don't you go and grab it? Xiaoling smiled lightly. Originally, I couldn't ask for so much. But based on the last shooting situation, it is very likely that Miss Gu will interfere with the scene in the future. This will increase the difficulty of my work, affect my work mood, and also with this number, it's barely acceptable. What? It's such a sky-high price, but she actually said it was barely enough. Father Gu was so angry that he almost wanted to slam the table. He didn't think it was his precious daughter who was causing trouble, but he felt that the little actress in front of him was too arrogant and did not know how to appreciate others. I, Mr. Gu, am in need of your endorsement. Believe it or not, I replaced you. Then let's change it. If Li Lei hadn't warned her, Xiaoling might have been frightened by him. But now, Xiaoling is well aware of Gu's situation. If Director Gu thinks you can find someone to replace me, you are welcome to replace me. Do you think I want to accept this endorsement? To be honest, if not for Grandpa Gu's sake, I won't do it even if you kneel down and beg me. This girl. How could you be so arrogant? Father Gu was extremely angry, but his remaining sense held him back and prevented him from really resigning Xiaoling. Mr. Gu now attaches great importance to Star Wings, and has repeatedly warned him not to mess with this little actress who is the spokesperson. If the old man knows that he has resigned, he is worried that his position as chairman will be in jeopardy. So, Father Gu had no choice but to hold back his anger and agreed to Xiaoling's sky-high endorsement fee. Xiaoling was very happy. After the matter was settled, her eyes when she came out to see Li Lei were much friendlier than before. To attract wealth, Big Boss Li is definitely a lucky cat. If you give her a number casually, all she has to do is walk into Director Gu's office and give it out in a big way, and they will have no choice but to agree with tears in their eyes. She doesn't have to worry about her next brand name bags, cosmetics, clothing expenses, etc. Ha ha ha, I feel so happy just thinking about it. Xiaoling was in a good mood. When passing by the boutique, she bought Mr. Boss a tie clip as a reward. Master Boss was flattered and put it away with a smile on his face. He called Sister Maina, arranged the public relations team to send out a news, saying that Xiaoling is about to leave Tianyi, and her first contract after her solo career has been signed, which is to continue her endorsement of Star Wings, and the endorsement fee has reached a new high in the country. There have been some rumors recently, saying that Xiaoling was abandoned by him and was kicked out of Tianyi in desperation. He couldn't let his Xiaoling be rumored to be in such a bad state. Even if she wanted to leave, she would leave in a fine manner. In this way, when she goes outside in the future, no unsighted person will bully her. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 273. Chapter 273 Pei Xian's Visit. As soon as the set of news was released, public opinion immediately became lively. Previously, everyone speculated that it was because Big Boss Li wanted to abandon Ye Xingling, so after the breakup, he instructed the company to terminate her contract. However, now, Tianyi Company's attitude has become very obvious. They worked hard to get her to continue to endorse Star Wings, and they even publicized the news to the media in a big way. They clearly still support Ye Xingling. Where is this abandonment? A peaceful breakup and a good beginning and end are more or less the same. For a time, the rumors from the outside world died down. Many brokerage companies have become active. Singers like Ye Xingling, who have excellent singing and dancing skills and are still so young, only 18 years old and have just debuted for a few years, are not common in the free transfer market. They have endless potential and unlimited future prospects. If we can successfully sign her, that would be a great thing. They were all looking for her contact information. Xiaoling's social relationship has always been simple, and only a few acquaintances know her mobile phone number. During this period, Sister Mai Na and Wei Sheyan's mobile phones were all being called up by people asking for her contact information and recommendations. Wei Sheyan was furious, and Sister Maina was also very unhappy. They don't want Xiaoling to leave here. How many of the entertainment companies outside can compare with Tianyi? However, despite this, they carefully screened the agents they came to and recommended the reliable ones to Xiaoling. This is the little they can do to help her as friends. I have been in this business for so many years, and there is no brokerage company in the industry that I am not familiar with, Sister Mai Na said to Xiaoling. Before you sign a new company, you must ask me first, and I will check it for you. Xiaoling thanked her and said, it's not that urgent. Let's wait until Awei's Stray Cat is recorded. This was her last project at Tianyi. According to Wei Shaiyan, it was also her pinnacle work since her debut. It has been nearly 2 years since Xiaoling made her debut. In nearly 2 years, only 4 songs were recorded: Glass Fingertips, Star Wings, Eyes Under the Mask, and Stray Cat. This kind of efficiency is so low that no one would believe it. Glass Fingertips is Xiaoling's debut song. At that time, she and Wei Shaiyan were not familiar with each other. Although the song was carefully crafted, there were some signs of running in, and both parties were still testing each other's temperament. Wings of Stars is the theme song of the same name for Goose perfume. It inevitably has to cater to the theme of the perfume and cannot express its personality 100%. Eyes Under the Mask is a very good song, but when it was released, Feng Kun returned to China to announce the launch of Caged Butterfly, which greatly reduced the effect of Eyes Under the Mask, which was released at the same time. Only the current song Stray Cat was composed by her and Wei Shaiyan after they had been partnered for a long time. Both parties knew each other's style well. They wrote lyrics, composed music, and produced it. They used all their aura and talents to polish the texture of the song. The pinnacle. At the moment when she left Tianyi, the last song attracted everyone's attention and was full of gimmicks. In the words of Wei Shaiyan, if this song is not popular, it would be unreasonable. Xiaoling feels the same way. This song was composed when she was feeling the most lonely. The lyrics and music hit people's hearts every time. Although her relationship with Li Lei later softened, the sadness were engraved in the music, a voice that came from the soul. Stray Cat will be popular. This is the voice of everyone involved in recording this song. Perhaps because he personally crafted such a famous song that has been handed down from generation to generation, Wei Shaiyan's attitude towards Xiaoling has become better, and the stern look on her face when she just learned that she was leaving Tianyi has turned into a slightly sullen face now. In the future, ask your agent to come to me when the work was over, he said coldly. Xiaoling was struggling with the earphone cords, trying to save them from the tangle of hair. When Wei Shaiyan said this, she raised her head in confusion. Wei Shaiyan turned her face away proudly and stopped talking. Xiaoling reacted silently for a while. You want me to come to you to make music in the future, she finally figured it out and smiled. Why did she forget that although she would no longer be an artist under Tianyi in the future, Awei's recording studio it's not just open to his own artists, he will also record music from many artists from other agencies. I will definitely come, Xiaoling promised with a smile. She likes Wei very much. His music style is clean and neat, which fits her voice very well. Moreover, although Awei was extremely picky in his work, his professionalism was unmatched by any music producer. Xiaoling was really worried that she would not get used to it after leaving him. Hearing her answer, Wei Shaiyan's face improved. Don't forget what you said. Xiaoling responded with a smile and came out of the recording studio in a good mood. Go home. The doorbell rings. Didn't Luoluo bring the key? Li Lei went out of town for something today, and he told her that he would not come to have dinner with her. Who is the one? The door opened and Xiaoling was stunned. Standing in front of the door was a tall man, wearing a black plaid shirt with dark patterns. His face was like a god's with deep and cold lines, and a pair of deep eyes were looking at her solemnly. It turned out to be Pei Zion. In the corridor, the dim skylight reflected his perfect profile, as if it were the deepest dream before dawn, mysterious, dark, dangerous and unreal. Xiaoling, his voice was low and magnetic, and he slowly read her name, "Won't you invite me in to sit down?" She then realized that she had been standing at the door for too long. Why are you here?" She tried hard to find her voice, but for some reason, her hands and feet were so nervous that they were a little stiff. At that time, on Valentine's Day, she was sent to the hospital huddled in his warm embrace, and he peeled an apple for her. The quiet ward, warm lights, and soft conversations that night seemed to still be vivid in her mind. He said very gently, "I heard that you were leaving Tianyi, so I came to see you. Do you really not want me to come in and sit down? I brought you a gift." She ducked as if sleepwalking to let him in and closed the door. Pei Ziyan sat down on the sofa in the living room, looked around the small room, and frowned slightly. "You live in a place like this?" "It's pretty good." Xiaoling took a deep breath and found her calmness. "It's a shared apartment. The rent isn't too expensive, and the two of us have someone to look after us. By the way, how did you know I live here?" Luoluo Pei Ziyan didn't hide it. "Are you sharing a room with her?" This girl can't hide her words. She mentioned this matter when chatting with people in the recording studio, and Chu Chen heard it. "I see." Xiaoling just wanted to rub her forehead. Does Luoluo, this little white rabbit, know what kind of big bad wolf he has brought into the family? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 274. Chapter 274 Blue Diamond Necklace. Pei Ziyan pushed a beautifully wrapped box in front of her. "This is a gift." Xiaoling didn't move. "It looks very expensive, I can't accept it." The box was square and small, and its blue velvet appearance was as elegant and charming as night. It looked like there were jewelry and other items inside. Based on her understanding of Pei Ziyan, it was absolutely not cheap. It is easy to accept gifts from everyone in the world, but his gifts always seem to mean something. She didn't dare to get more involved with him. Pei Ziyan opened the box, and sure enough, lying quietly inside was a blue diamond necklace. The 3 thin chains made of platinum were scattered in an orderly manner, dotted with beautifully cut blue diamonds. They were of high purity, and every facet was beautiful, reflecting the bright and dazzling light. There is a small identification card on the label in the corner of the box. Xiaoling recognized what a high-end diamond brand this was at a glance. In her previous life, she liked the jewelry of this family very much, but now she might be broke and unable to afford the small blue diamond necklace in his hand. She stopped looking at the necklace, raised her head, and looked into his eyes. "I've seen you perform several times." Pei Ziyan's voice was low, and he had been in power for so many years. Even when he spoke normally, he seemed to have a hint of coercion. "You have changed into several sets of dresses. The accessories were a bit dull. When I passed by the store that day, I thought it suited you well, so I bought it." Actually, he didn't pass by that store at all. He went out of his way to find a suitable necklace for her. He watched every event she attended. When he saw the war press conference, he found that what she was wearing around her neck was just an ordinary crystal necklace, and even the quality of the crystal was not very good. At that time, there was a faint anger in his heart. Lilei, was this how he usually treated her? Is it so shabby for her to attend such a star-studded occasion? That man didn't deserve to be with her. Pei Ziyan specially took a day to go to the jewelry store. That was a shop that his Xiaoling liked very much during his lifetime. He bought the latest model of the season, an expensive blue diamond necklace. If Xiaoling was still alive, she would definitely like it. "Xiaoling, put it on." His voice was low and magnetic. That gentle and familiar voice seemed to take her back to the old days. By some strange coincidence, she linked that item. Opening the platinum buckle, she was about to put it on. Suddenly, the fingers that stretched out to her neck touched something. There was a thin red rope, with an ordinary amulet tied to one end of the red rope. It was Lilei. Qian warned her not to take it off. She took her hand back. Sorry, I already have the necklace. She put the blue diamond necklace back into the box. His eyes fell on her neck. The red rope contrasted with the jade white complexion. It could be broken by a blow and made people's breathing become slightly suffocated. Pei Xian calmly calmed down and said, "Red rope? Is it an amulet?" Xiaoling nodded. For some reason, she didn't dare to tell him that it was a gift from Li Lei. She felt a little guilty. "Keep me safe." Pei Xian did not persist. He picked up the extremely brilliant blue diamond necklace and put it into her hand. "Keep it, use it with your dress later. The male is currently making people uncontrollable." For some reason, she warned herself 1,000 times in her heart to be careful about Pei Xian, but just when she was hit by his magical voice, she almost put on the necklace. Nowadays, it would be too pretentious to say that it is too expensive to afford. She had no choice but to keep it. She comforted herself in her heart. She had made a lot of money for him in her previous life. After her death, the inheritance would be divided between him and Xiaoyu. Now, accepting him a necklace is not considered valuable, nor is it valuable. Hypnotized myself many times. Pei Xian looked at her and asked, "What are your plans after leaving Tianyi?" Xiaoling was startled for a moment, then said, "I don't know, just take it one step at a time. There are many brokerage companies looking for it, but I haven't decided where to go yet. Do you want?" "I won't go to the emperor." Xiaoling interrupted him with a smile. "Boss Pei, thank you for your kindness." "Why?" His eyebrows wrinkled imperceptibly. If it was because he was reluctant to let go of Tianyi in the past, now it seems that Tianyi is not an obstacle at all. You have to know that if you look at the entire entertainment industry, there is no bigger company than Emperor. "I know." Xiaoling nodded, carefully considering her words. "I am used to being undisciplined, and I am incompatible with the Emperor's strict system and style. I still hope to find a company that is not so serious." "You mean I'm serious?" "No, no." Classmate Xiaoling was about to cry. How dare she say a bad word about Boss Pei? In person? She didn't want to die again. "Why is that?" Pei Xian asked. "When Luo Luo comes back, she will definitely peel off Luo Luo's skin." How could she reveal her address so easily, or at such a critical moment when she was about to change her agency? She would rather be chased and intercepted by 100 paparazzi than face one question from Pei Xian. Xiaoling really couldn't think of an excuse, so she simply closed her eyes and gave up on herself. "I just don't like doing things with acquaintances. Especially the kind where the relationship between men and women is unclear. After leaving Tianyi, I just feel awkward staying under Li Lei. The same goes for the emperor. I won't go there if you are here. I will only find a company with a simple relationship and no personal feelings involved." "No, wait. She seems to talk too much. What is the relationship between men and women? What personal feelings?" Xiaoling looked at Boss Pei in horror. He, 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 s, he, s, he, his, s, he, s, he, s, and students, s, 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 students and students, 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 students. You will use, you use, You need to locate at. Pei Zian clasped his fingers and looked at her with a solemn gaze, his stern face showing no emotion. After a moment, a smile slowly appeared in the depths of his eyes. So, you are saying that you have personal feelings for me? No, Xiaoling was simply frightened, don't get me wrong. What is that? Xiaoling was speechless again. At this moment, how much she wished someone could save her. Li Lei, where was Li Lei? What a coincidence that something happened today and I'm not here. Xiaoling took a deep breath, then took another deep breath, and managed to come up with an excuse. I have no feelings for you, but you have feelings for me. In short, I will not go to the emperor. His eyes darkened slightly. Xiaoling looked at him nervously and felt relieved when she saw his gloomy expression. I hope to clearly separate feelings and work. She regained her composure and said, if two people are in the same company, then no matter what kind of personal relationship it is, I will not consider it. She was hinting. If he forced her to go to the emperor, then there would be absolutely no chance for the two of them. In other words, is it possible if they are not in the same company? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 275. Chapter 275 Tyrant. Pei Zian looked at her thoughtfully. Xiaoling felt guilty. She didn't want to give him hope, but she had to take this approach now that things had come to this. If Pei Zian is not willing to give up the idea of inviting her to the emperor, then even if she rejects him, he will have many ways to force other companies to dare not accept her and force her to return to the emperor step by step. It is better to give him some vague thoughts than to return to the emperor now and be at his mercy. Not to mention. Xiaoling's expression softened slightly. After the Spring Festival and Valentine's Day events, she found that she was not as afraid and repulsive of him as before. Even if they couldn't get back together in the future, it was not bad to be a friend or relative. Boss Pei, thank you for your kindness, she said again. Maybe we can become friends in the future, but that is based on no interests involved. Please understand. Just friends. She lowered her head slightly and said nothing. There was a noise at the entrance and the door was opened. Xiaoling, Xiaoling, it was Luo's voice, which came through the screen at the door. Sorry, I'm late. Are you hungry? Let's go out to eat, okay? You don't know how perverted Pei Zian is. Listen. He said that he held an executive meeting for a full 6 hours today and lectured all the executives one by one, which caused a low pressure in the entire company. Boss Chu from the brokerage department lectured my agent, and my agent I've been trained a lot. Until now, I tell you, Pei Zian is a tyrant. A beast. Luo had probably been accumulating grievances all day long, and while changing his slippers, he kept talking like a barrage of words. Xiaoling silently glanced at Pei Zian sitting opposite. Pei Zian's face was expressionless. Luo changed his slippers and turned in from the entrance, still mumbling, you said, why is the emperor controlled by a perverted lunatic like him? Let me tell you, it doesn't matter which brokerage company you choose, tens of millions don't come to the emperor. Pei Zian is just, Boss Pei. Luo looked up and saw the people in his living room, and screamed, so scared that the bag in his hand fell to the floor. Pei Zian looked at her expressionlessly. Xiaoling couldn't bear to look directly at her and gave her a sympathetic glance. Luo was so frightened that he couldn't speak. Oh my god, this was so exciting. The excitement of opening the door and finding Boss Pei's 1,000-year-old iceberg sitting in his own home was no less exciting than opening the door and seeing the hidden treasure in his home. It's a strange shape. What's more, she just said so many bad things about Boss Pei. Did she hear them all? Luo blinked and almost cried. Look, I just said that the emperor is too serious, Xiaoling said softly and smoothed things over with a helpless smile. Lolo is very dedicated. If you complain occasionally, don't take it to heart. You. Don't use honorifics when speaking to me. Xiaoling was dumbfounded and then smiled, okay. It's getting late. Seeing that you are very busy today, go back first and talk again when we have the opportunity. Pei Xian looked at the time and saw that it was indeed getting late. He had to fly to Los Angeles to attend a summit in the evening. So, he got up and when passing by Luo Luo, he looked at her with a look like a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex looking down at a trembling little white rabbit. The little white rabbit almost screamed and ran away when he looked at her. What kind of bad taste is he doing? Is it fun to scare people? Xiaoling was speechless, blocking Luo Luo's view and escorting him to the door. Pei Xian noticed her little movements and looked at her with a gentler look. There are very few people who are not afraid of him. When his Xiaoling was alive, he was one, and this girl in front of him was the second. How he wished she could be by his side. It's not easy for a girl to break into the entertainment industry alone. He walked to the door, turned to Xiaoling and said, if you need anything, please contact me. You have my phone number. Xiaoling nodded. Pei Xian has many phone numbers. The one given to her is one that relatively few people know. It is only used by some relatives, fitness consultants, and other personal relationships. Actually, she had a different number in her previous life, which was reserved specially for her by Pei Xian. It was unique and only the two of them knew it. Now that he didn't give her the phone number, Xiaoling couldn't tell whether she felt happy or disappointed. Maybe that number has been cancelled a long time ago. This thought flashed through her mind, and she didn't think much about it. Watching Pei Xian's back fade away, Xiaoling closed the door and returned to the living room. In the living room, the little white rabbit Luo Luo, who had been petrified for a long time, suddenly came to life. Xiaoling. Xiaoling. Did I read it right just now? That man just now was Pei Xian? Oh my god, it's the Emperor's big boss Pei Xian. Come on, pinch me and see if I'm dreaming. Xiaoling pinched her angrily, can't you be stricter with your mouth? Tell everyone that I live here. Ouch, Xiaoling's hand was so strong that she pinched Luo Luo until she burst into tears. Only then did she realize that she had offended Xiaoling and apologized aggrievedly, I said it in the Emperor's recording studio. That time, everyone is an entertainer, and there are no reporters or fans present, so I mentioned it casually and didn't think anything was wrong. You still said that, Xiaoling glared at her fiercely, if you hadn't let it slip, how could you have attracted that great just now? Oh my god, that person just now was really Pei Xian? Wasn't I dreaming? Luo Luo lay down on the sofa exaggeratedly, holding his heart in his hands. I can't help it anymore, I want to suppress my shock, my god, it's too scary. It's the first time I've seen him up close. Do you know, Xiaoling, why do you think there is such a terrible person in the world? Just a look can freeze people into ice. I said so many bad things today, and he heard me. Will he fire me? Woohoo. No, don't worry, Xiaoling said weakly. She felt that she had to calm down, so she sat down on the sofa next to Luo Luo's slumped body, picked up a cup and drank water. Really, Luo Luo was not confident and rolled around in a tangle. They say Pei Xian is a tyrant and a devil. Anyone who offends him will not end well. How can he let me go so easily? You're of your level, you're not in his eyes. Xiaoling struck her calmly. In her last life, Xiaoling lived with Pei Xian all her life, and she knew him very well. His so-called tyrant, devil, cold, cruel, and unyielding vengeance was aimed at Li Lei. No matter how bad it was also Chu Chen, Meina, Fenken, and Awaina. People of this level. As for new singer Xiao Xiamai like Luo Luo? This level of verbal disrespect? If Pei Xian really wanted to care about it, even a year wasted here wouldn't be enough. Luo Luo's heart was shattered by Xiaoling's blow. Okay, I'm just a little shrimp, a little transparent. But after a while, he pieced it together again. Anyway, It's a good thing if he doesn't retaliate against me. The optimistic spirit of the energetic girl came back instantly, and she suddenly thought of something. She stood up and looked at Xiaoling. Xiaoling, Xiaoling, Boss Pei, did he come here specifically? What did he say to you? Wow, you actually know each other. The barrage of questions gave Xiaoling another headache. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 276. Chapter 276. The Lingering Sound. She said perfunctorily to Luo Luo, "It's not that familiar." He knew that I was going to change my agency, so he came to ask me if I wanted to go to Emperor. Wow, Boss Pei actually invited you in person? Are you not familiar with it? Xiaoling, you are the first one, you know, you are definitely the first person to be personally invited by Boss Pei. In the past, no matter how much artists you valued, he just send the task to the brokerage department and it's over. How can you do it yourself? Luo Luo rambled for a long time, and suddenly, his eyes fell on the coffee table. On the coffee table in front of the sofa, there is a necklace lying quietly. The thin platinum chain is surrounded by dazzling blue diamonds. It is so gorgeous that people can't take their eyes away. It must be expensive. Send it from Boss Pei. Luo Luo's voice suddenly dropped. Yes, Xiaoling didn't care. Xiaoling. Luo Luo looked up at her, but hesitated to speak. After a long time, he finally seemed to have made up his mind and asked, "Is it really as simple as inviting you to the Emperor when he came to you?" "What do you mean?" Xiaoling frowned. Luo Luo pointed to the blue diamond necklace on the coffee table. This. It's really not like the etiquette that ordinary brokerage companies treat artists they want to invite. It's too grand and expensive. He likes you, right? Although Luo Luo is innocent, she has been in the entertainment industry for so long and has been exposed to many things. For actresses, it is too common to encounter such a situation. Someone who is rich and powerful, the benefactors threw out expensive gifts, and the beautiful actresses gave away their bodies. Everyone just got what they needed. It's just that she didn't believe that such a thing would happen to Xiaoling. In her heart, Xiaoling was such a pure being. She looked at Xiaoling in disbelief. "You agreed?" "I refused." "Why did you accept this blue diamond necklace if you refused?" Luo Luo asked. Which man would give such an expensive gift without asking for anything in return? "I said I refused." Xiaoling was a little irritated. The topic of Pei Ziyan was one of the things she disliked being explored the most. She told Luo Luo impatiently, "Even if I don't accept this necklace, he will definitely put it on the table and not take it away. That's the kind of temper he has. This is different from whether I have any unspoken transaction with him." Luo Luo was quiet for a moment. "Are you familiar with him?" she asked Xiaoling. Sometimes, a woman's intuition is horribly sharp. Even a girl as big and thick as Luo Luo realized something was wrong when she heard Xiaoling say, "He has such a temper." "If you are not a very familiar person, how could you say this?" Xiaoling was shocked and fell silent. She was afraid of being discovered about her rebirth. Fortunately, Luo Luo obviously thought of going in another direction. "Xiaoling, do you like him?" "Like Pei Ziyan?" Deep down in her heart, it was impossible to not have any attachment, but she couldn't tell whether it was the lingering love from the happiest moment in her previous life or the influence of Stockholm Syndrome. In other words, she couldn't tell whether it was the embers of real love or just a sick hallucination. "It's impossible between us," she murmured, answering Luo Luo, as if she was answering herself. Luo Luo asked, "What about Li Lei? Do you like Li Lei?" "Boss Li has been coming here almost every day recently. Luo Luo has become familiar with him and has a good impression of him." "Li Lei? Xiaoling thought of that man, and even her eyes softened a bit. Perhaps you like it? That's why I mind the breakup, that's why I mind that he's too close to other girls, that's why every time he treats her well, the whole world feels brighter. Luoluo looked at her expression. It's over, you've fallen in love. Are you so sure that I've fallen in love? To be honest, even Xiaoling herself wasn't sure. Didn't you notice? When I mentioned Lilei, your dazzling eyes, tisk tisk tisk. Luoluo made an exaggerated expression of being unable to bear it. Haha, just do it, Lilei is your true love. As for Pei Zion? When I talked about him just now, you were here. She reached out and stroked Xiaoling's eyebrows. You are frowning here. Is it that obvious? Xiaoling unconsciously reached out and touched her eyebrows. That's why I'm worried that you accepted Pei Zion's gift, Luoluo said. Xiaoling, I don't think you will be happy if you follow Pei Zion. He is not the person who can bring you happiness. Lilei is different. You take good care of him and you have him in your heart. Xiaoling was speechless. Look at your heart clearly, Xiaoling. Luoluo said, get back together with Boss Li, so that you can justifiably reject gifts from other men. If Boss Li sees this blue diamond necklace, he should how sad. Will Lilei be sad? The question hadn't even crossed her mind. She looked at the blue diamond necklace on the coffee table, and Lilei's her eyes appeared in her mind. Unexpectedly, she felt a sudden sting in her heart, as if she had been pricked by a needle. At night, Xiaoling thought about Luoluo's words and tossed and turned on the bed, unable to fall asleep. The moonlight shines in through the gauze window curtains and shines on the dazzling blue diamond necklace in her hand. Although diamonds are beautiful, they are ultimately cold and feel a heavy chill in your hand. And on her white neck, she wore the amulet given by Lilei. The texture of sycamore wood was simple and warm, not so gorgeous and dazzling, but not so cold and unattainable. This amulet gave her a sense of peace of mind. She looked at these two items for a long time. Finally, she stood up from the bed, put the blue diamond necklace back into the velvet box, and pushed it into the bottom of the closet to collect dust. He touched the amulet on his chest again, took out his cell phone, and sent a message to Lilei, take care of yourself outside and go to bed early. Luoluo's words today made her realize that she cared too little about him. Since she couldn't let go of the sunshine, she had to work harder to hold it firmly in her hands. Lilei replied soon. When he opened the text message, it showed a big hug and a smiling face. He said he would listen to her and go to sleep. I will go back to the city tomorrow and bring her local specialties. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and she fell asleep holding his text message, having a good night's sleep. A few days later, Stray Cat has finally been recorded and officially released. Tianyi held a grand press conference for her. Media reporters, fan representatives, and even managers from many entertainment companies gathered to listen to her sing the song that was destined to soar to the sky. A stray cat, licking its wounds alone on the street, with people coming and going. The song ends, and the lingering sound lingers. Fans cheered, reporters frantically took photos with flashlights, and staff from the agency called their own companies one after another. They must sign her. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 277. Chapter 277. Get married, have children, and retire from the world. This song will be the pinnacle of this year's music scene and will be difficult to surpass. Since the death of the legendary Queen Xiaoling, the domestic music scene has been short of female singers who can lead. No female singer dares to say that she is a well-deserved number one. And today, although Yexing Ling is far from reaching that level, this song Stray Cat has reached such a level among similar songs, leaving other songs far behind. Those who can sing such songs will have a bright future. The press conference is over. She received more letters in her email inbox, and her mobile phone and Weibo private messages were almost full. She looked at the overwhelming invitations from agents and fell into deep distress. Where should she go? Lillet took her to have dinner. A high-end French restaurant with an elegant and quiet environment, soft music, silver tableware and white plates shining under the crystal chandelier. Lillet ordered her favorite filet mignon, vegetable salad and cream of mushroom soup, accompanied by red wine. She belongs to a rare lucky group of people in the entertainment industry, that is, the type who can eat no matter how much she eats and never gain weight. She has a sweet taste, consumes a lot of sugar and salt every day, and can still maintain a thin and perfect figure. I don't know how many actresses who are desperately dieting are jealous. However, Lillet felt very sorry for her. With this kind of physique, at best she could not gain weight by eating. In fact, the digestive function of her intestines and stomach was not very good and it was not easy to absorb food. He was always worried that her nutrition would not keep up. I couldn't help but say, don't play with your mobile phone while eating, it's not good for your health. Xiaoling said oh and put the phone aside, still looking absent-minded. Lillet asked, what are you thinking about? Xiaoling glanced at him and felt a little weird saying such things to the person who was about to become her ex-boss, but then she thought about it and realized that he was not sitting here with her as the boss now, so she slowly left. Mouth, I don't know where to go next. Lillet smiled, I thought you would never discuss this topic with me. Xiaoling also smiled, indeed, I didn't plan to talk about it originally. I hope to maintain the independence of my work, but as friends, Luluo and Maina can give me a lot of advice. You. What am I? Lillet asked softly, sitting up straighter unconsciously. You. Xiaoling smiled, her eyes gleaming, you will not be my boss from now on. Our personal relationship should be closer than friends, right? This was the first time she had spoken to him since the breakup. Say something so obviously suggestive. After Pei Ziyan sent the blue diamond necklace, she thought about a lot of things. She should be more proactive with Lillet. It can't just be him paying one-sidedly for a long time, but it is a long-term solution for the two of them to be together. Lillet's eyes lit up slightly, and his voice tightened unconsciously, of course not at one time, he doubted whether it was the right decision to let her leave the apartment and Tianyi, but now, he is extremely happy. I made this decision myself. His little Ling should be like a bird flying high in the sky. After leaving the golden cage, her free nature can be revealed. Only when she relaxes can she truly examine this relationship. Letting go for a short time is for a longer reunion in the future. This favorability is worth brushing up on. Boss Lee gave himself 32 likes in his mind and added half a glass of red wine to her, so, tell me your thoughts in detail, and I can help you with your advice. Xiaoling thought for a while. There are so many things going on that I don't even know where to start. She is actually not familiar with the companies and brokerage industry in the entertainment industry at all. In her previous life, she was directly adopted by Pei Ziyan, and was assigned to Chu Chen when she debuted. She has not changed companies or agents in more than 10 years, in this life, as soon as she opened her eyes, she was in the Tianyi training camp, and when she debuted, she was directly adopted by Tanying was assigned to Sister Maina, and it continues to this day. She had never actively chosen an entertainment company or an agent, and had no idea where to start. I don't know what kind of company is a good company, and what kind of agent is good, Xiaoling asked. That depends on you after all. Lillet is the person who runs an entertainment company and has been involved in this industry for many years. Although he doesn't usually take care of things, he still has a broad perspective. This has something to do with your acting goals. What height do you want to reach in the future? What path do you intend to pursue? Are you going to be a singer only, or are you going to work in this industry for the rest of your life, or are you going to get married in 5 or 10 years? Going home to have a baby? These plans will affect your choice of agency and agent. I actually haven't thought about it very much, Xiaoling said. At first, when she was in the Tianyi training camp, she had to make a debut to make money to pay off her debts because she owed a lot of debt to the company. But now that all the money has been paid off, she seems to have no motivation to continue fighting. If I have to say it, it's just that she is a star now. Even if her position is still small, she can go to work as an ordinary employee in an ordinary company. It's also impossible. Go into business and open a small shop. She has no talent. In her previous life, she tried to open a flower shop and a jewelry store, but lost all her money. Writing books and painting as a freelancer? She won't. Financial management and stock trading? Firstly, she doesn't have that much money, and secondly, she doesn't have the IQ in this area. After much deliberation, I can only continue to make a living in the entertainment industry. With her current singing level, it is not difficult to make a living, but the difficulty lies in. Xiaoling, Li Lei asked, when you first debuted, you said you wanted to become a queen. Was that your sincerity, or was it forced by the situation at that time? Because she showed potential as a queen, Tianyi signed her and helped her compete with the emperor. Looking back on the past, Xiaoling suddenly felt guilty. It seemed that she couldn't wait to leave Tianyi before fulfilling her vow. Well, anyway, it's just a day to be lazy, and it's also a day to work hard. I will become a diva, she looked at the man across the dining table, become a diva, cooperate with Tianyi, and bring a lot of gains to Tianyi, fulfill my original promise. Li Lei felt a warmth surge in his heart. But he looked at her, Xiaoling, that's not what I meant. I hope you can live a happy life and do what you like to do, whether it is excellence or mediocrity, as long as you are happy. He paused. After a pause, he added selfishly, it's best to do this for a few years, then get married, have children, and retire from the world. Xiaoling. Is it because of this that he doesn't want her to become a queen? I will become a queen, she gritted her teeth as she smiled, get married, have children, and retire from the world. In this life, it is impossible for me to become a full-time housewife and survive on a man. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 278. Chapter 278, there are flowers that are worth breaking, but they must be broken. Li Lei looked very disappointed. Xiaoling smiled and toasted to him, boss, don't worry about these details. The future is too far away. If you have wine today, you will get drunk today. Li Lei looked at her and slowly returned to his usual laziness, today. Xiaoling, you are not a person who can drink now and get drunk tomorrow. He raised the cup in his hand and touched her gently, half sincerely. He said hypocritically, if you are really drunk, why don't you go ahead and be my girlfriend again? Perhaps because of drinking, Xiaoling's cheeks had a faint blush, and her eyes moved. No, no. I'm not that easy to be a boyfriend. She looked at him, still smiling, let's wait until you settle your family. She doesn't want to have an inexplicable breakup halfway through a relationship next time. I will. Li Lei looked more serious and promised her. After what happened, she did not reject his pursuit, and he was already satisfied. Even if she didn't mention it, he would find a way to settle his family's affairs, not only to prevent her grandfather from murdering her, but also to make her the entire family willingly accept her and make her a legitimate wife of the Li family. For this, he must have a fight with his lunatic brother. Li Lei's eyes were slightly cold. In order to prevent his brothers from falling out with each other, he left for China and gave up the hope of being the heir to the family to his elder brother. In fact, compared to him, maybe Li Feng is more suitable to take charge of the entire Li family. Most of the Li family's business is underworld business. Li Feng has that kind of bloodthirsty desire and is almost immersed in it like a carnival. This kind of fun, Li Lei couldn't enjoy it. At one time, his thoughts on competing with Li Feng were very indifferent. But it's different now. There is Xiaoling. He must have enough power to ensure Xiaoling's status and safety in the family. The best way is to become the helmsman of the Li family like his grandfather. To be honest, no one dares to take action against the woman he values. It's okay for Xiaoling to leave Tianyi at this time. Because Tianyi will be involved in his entire struggle for power next. This is his war, and the dangers and storms that will come with it. He does not want his beloved woman to be involved in it. Li Lei looked at Xiaoling and smiled gently and harmlessly, "Wait until I give you a safe home." The meal was enjoyable, and after some appropriate flirting, Li Lei gave her some advice on choosing a brokerage company. To become a queen, you must choose a large company that is systematic and has sufficient experience and strength, preferably a specialized brokerage company. That kind of company is different from comprehensive companies like Tianyi or Emperor. They only act as brokers and do not have their own. It has a film and television and music production system, and all its energy is used to package its artists and choose suitable advertisements for the artists. It has rich experience and has good relations with all the production companies in the industry, and the selection of advertisements is wide. In other words, it's not like Tianyi, who couldn't accept the emperor's announcement because of a bad relationship with the emperor. Xiaoling understood what Mr. Boss meant. Master Boss was not happy. "You really want to accept the emperor's announcement?" "Actually, Pei Xian came to me and invited me to the emperor, but I refused." Xiaoling drank some wine, her nerves relaxed, and she said to Li Lei in a somewhat casual manner. Li Lei narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at her for a while, and suddenly smiled. "I'm very happy." He clinked the wine glass with her again. "I don't associate with Gulin, and you don't associate with Pei Xian either." Xiaoling nodded. "I won't associate with him." After a pause, she shook her head. "But, he is a very important person to me. Should I forgive him?" "I seem to be almost ready to forgive him." Her vague words made Li Lei's expression darken, and he intuitively felt that the answer was right in front of him. Almost holding his breath, he asked softly, "Who is he to you?" Xiaoling's ability to drink is not good, and she can easily get drunk even if she drinks red wine. However, although the alcohol affects her brain, her relationship with Pei Xian is too important, and her remaining sanity still allows her to keep the secret. She looked at Li Lei and smiled sadly. "It's very important, you know. It's much more important than the relationship between you and Gulin. No matter how much I want to say, I don't want to say it." "Why is it so important?" Li Lei's voice was full of temptation. "I feel so dizzy," she murmured, supported her head with her hands, closed her eyes slightly and fell asleep. Li Lei looked at her peaceful sleeping face for a long time, and there was one thing he couldn't ask: "Are you more important than me?" He wanted to know the answer, but was afraid to know it. When Xiaoling woke up the next day, she was in the rented apartment, on the bed in her own room. She was wearing pajamas that someone had changed into, and the quilt was carefully covering her. She got up and brushed her teeth. Luoluo said, "Boss Li sent you back last night and told me that you were drunk and had something light for breakfast." She nodded and sent a text message to thank him for his kindness. "I can't remember what I said to him last night. It seems that it's better to drink less in the future." She went to the company and formally completed the termination procedures with Tianyi. Sister Maina and others said goodbye to her reluctantly, but she also felt reluctant to leave. She promised that we would have more opportunities to cooperate with each other in the future, and said that she would keep in touch and come back to see you all often. Out of Tianyi. At this moment, I felt that I had nothing to do, and I was full of confusion about the unknown future. The agency still hasn't been chosen yet. Li Lei and Sister Mai Na gave them directions, but they were just for reference, and she still had to make the specific ideas herself. She was undecided among several companies and agents. Suddenly, she thought of one person who had not given her advice, and that person was even more professional than Li Lei, Wei Shaiyan, and the like. Fengkan. Fengkan is a well-known big brother in the entertainment industry. He is calm, mature, thoughtful, and has many friends. He definitely knows more about the specific personnel in the entertainment industry than a big boss like Li Lei, who doesn't take too much care. He is also more objective and calm than an arrogant Virgo like Wei Shaiyan. If you have his opinion, combined with the previous opinions of Li Lei and others, you will make a better choice. Thinking of this, Xiaoling dialed Fengkan's phone number. Fengkan asked her to meet in a private room of a quiet tea restaurant. "I've been waiting for you to come to me," he said with a gentle smile when he saw her. Xiaoling was a little embarrassed. "I still need your help to check this kind of thing." "I will be sad if you don't come to me," Fengkan said jokingly, and then said, "You have received a lot of invitations recently, right? Show me the list." Xiaoling had already prepared and listed it for him on the spot. Fengkan glanced around and said, "There are several pretty good companies and excellent agents, but it's a pity." "What's a pity?" "There is no one I would recommend you to." "Who is it?" Xiaoling's curiosity was aroused by him. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 279. Chapter 279, The T-shirt Incident. Do you remember Li? Fengkan did not answer her question, but started another topic. Li? Xiaoling frowned and thought for a long time, looking at him with confused eyes. Fengkan shook his head slightly and sighed, smiling tolerantly. "You have always been immersed in your own world and can't remember the names of the people and things around you. Let me give you a hint. 8 years ago, the annual reception of the Nebula Festival." When he said this, Xiaoling had an impression. It's her, she remembered, and in her mind, a face that was so beautiful that it was so beautiful that it turned all living beings upside down appeared. Even in the entertainment industry where there are so many beauties, having such an angelic face is enough to impress people and get praises. At that time, some good commentators said that Li was the only one who could compete with Xiaoling in terms of beauty. There are even more extreme ones. It seems like Lila is deliberately trying to get in trouble with her, provoking and targeting her at every turn. Whenever she attends an event, Lila will follow suit. Whatever she wears, Lila will imitate her. Now that she mentions it, Xiaoling is very unhappy. Can she be meaner? Imitate me everywhere. She deserves to have red wine poured all over me that night. What she was talking about was that night at the Nebula Festival, the annual reception. Everyone, the stars, gathered together, and Xiaoling swam in a haute couture dress that had just been handmade in Europe. Her hair was like clouds, and her expensive jewelry sparkled. Countless people cast envious glances at her. Whenever she was present, she was the undisputed center, the queen. Until Li appeared, the shining dream was broken. Li is 2 years younger than her, younger, with a sweeter smile. Although she doesn't have the aura of a queen who dominates the world, nor does she have the gorgeous and aggressive beauty, Li is more delicate. She is even sweeter, with small dimples on her cheeks when she smiles. She attended such a luxurious ceremony for the first time and instantly attracted everyone's attention. However, Lil's beauty is only a small part of the reason. The bigger reason is that this new actress, who is attending a grand social event in the entertainment industry for the first time, is wearing a high-end dress exactly like Xiaoling. The large silver white tail is tinged with light ice blue, and diamonds shine brightly on the skirt, like a mermaid princess coming from the deep sea. Even her accessories are the same as Xiaoling's. Coloring shirts is definitely an embarrassing thing for actresses. Especially when Xiaoling, who had just been promoted to Queen of Heaven at that time and was about to look down on all living beings proudly, was actually knocked over by a little actress who had just debuted and was not very famous yet. Shame, absolutely shame. Xiaoling's head was on fire and her anger was rising. Her first reaction was, how dare this bitch? Before that, Lil had provoked her many times, imitating her street photos, and going to eat at the restaurants she frequented. Many fans have compared the two. What makes Xiaoling most angry is that some people even say that Lil is younger and more popular than her. And all the anger reached its peak at the dinner party that day, when Lil appeared wearing the same haute couture dress as hers. Xiaoling took a glass of red wine from the waiter's hand, walked over with the most elegant and arrogant steps, and without hesitation, poured the entire glass of fine red wine into Lil's face. Looking at Lil's stunned face, the fragmented expression on her face stained with red wine juice and residual makeup, Xiaoling felt an unprecedented joy in her heart. Too arrogant, there were people whispering around him. Lil is so pitiful. Xiaoling is getting more and more arrogant and excessive. Isn't it just relying on boss pay's favor? The buzzing was getting louder and louder, but she didn't care. She just looked at Lil's embarrassed figure arrogantly. Next time, I will let you get out of the entertainment industry. At that time, she was like an unsheathed sword, cold, bloodthirsty, and indestructible. All her pride comes from Pei Xian's favor regardless of the reason, as long as it is what she wants to do. Even in a social occasion like the Nebula Gala annual reception, such wanton sexual and bullying of a new actress is not enough. No one dares to meddle in other people's business. At most, we can discuss it a few times in private, feel aggrieved, and feel no pain or itch, so what? However, even though she was so angry at that time, she still feels resentful when she thinks about it now. Is the Emperor's team just a bunch of pigs? From the costume consultant to the executive manager. It was right to fire them all at that time. Haute couture, even if their dresses match others, don't they show their intelligence when they go out? It was as if she would bring her IQ with her when she went out at that time. Feng Kun shook his head helplessly and smiled. In so many years, Lil is the only person who has threatened your status, Feng Kun said. Threat? Humph, she deserves it, Xiaoling sneered. She admitted that she was unhappy with Lil at the time, but going to splash Lil's red wine felt a bit like lowering her status, because Lil and she were not at the same level at all. She was a diva, a queen, a superstar, but what about that little actress? He has just become famous, and he hasn't even touched the door of the Nebula Festival yet. But Feng Kun shook his head. That's because she died too early. Xiaoling, believe it or not, if Lil is still alive, it won't take 3 years, no, 2 years, to shake your position. Why does she have it? Xiaoling snorted coldly from her nose, obviously not believing it. Can she sing as well as me? Does she look as good as me? In addition to the fact that she entered the industry 2 years later than me, and she dared to provoke me so boldly, which makes people feel very fresh. What's so impressive about her? Do you know why she dared to provoke you? Feng Kun asked. She is stupid and ignorant, Xiaoling said angrily. Based on her status in the entertainment industry back then, she had the power to call all the shots. Celebrities, especially actresses, no matter how high their rank they were, would only have trouble with her if they were overstretched. Feng Kun smiled gently. Can't you see? This is the difference between her and others. She dares to offend you, but others dare not. Do you think you are the only one in the world to rely on? You have Pei Xian, she is there, no one else behind you. Xiaoling has never thought about this issue before. She originally thought it was just some whimsical behavior of a starlet who wanted to be famous. Feng Kun analyzed her bit by bit. This industry rises and falls too fast, especially for actresses. The most beautiful years are those short years. Whether you can seize the opportunity well can determine the success or failure of your life. The person behind her, what led her to take a shortcut, what could be more eye-catching and more overnight famous than challenging you? Even if you poured red wine on her that day, it still made her successful. I didn't. Xiaoling argued unwillingly. Feng Kan gently shook his finger. I remember you read the report the next day. Although the emperor did a lot of public relations under Chu Chen's arrangement to eliminate the negative impact of this incident on you, the story about her wearing the same clothes with you and being splashed with wine still spread out. After that night, her internet search popularity exploded exponentially, earning a lot of attention. All this is because she has a good agent standing behind her. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 280. Chapter 280. Is he a good person? Feng Kan finally made the point. Xiaoling was unwilling to give up, but she had to admit that the hateful manager did a good job, using her reputation as a queen to help newcomers rise to the top. That is to say, her name is Xiaoling. She can withstand these impacts and pressures, but she is just a little bit in the spotlight. If it were a slightly weaker red star, she might be stepped on by the newcomers. She was very unhappy, and glared at Feng Kan. Don't tell me that he is the new agent you want to recommend to me. Feng Kan looked at her angry look and found it funny. Yes, that's him. His name is Lin Yunan, and he used to be the chief agent of Dongyu culture. His grandfather made a documentary for the chief minister, and his father is a large multinational company. The executive director of East Asia, his mother is from a well-known business family, and his grandfather and uncle are all well connected. So, he was able to compete with Pei Xian at that time. Xiaoling heard something. How can Pei Xian be so easy to contend with? Feng Kan said warmly. If Pei Xian was so easy to contend with, you would have died countless times with your arrogant and domineering temper and the speed with which you offended others. I'm not arrogant and domineering, Xiaoling defended in a low voice. Feng Kan glanced at her silently. Xiaoling lowered her head guiltily, took a small fork and poked the nuts to eat. Thanks to your arrogant and domineering temperament, he was able to encourage Li'er to provoke you. Feng Kan watched her eating nuts, her little cheeks bulging, a bit angry, but very cute. His eyes became a little softer. Some girls are so blessed that no matter how unreasonable they do, people can't bear to say harsh words. He continued, although you seem to be showing off your teeth and claws, you have a hot temper, and you can't help but respond to their provocations at the slightest provocation. Do you still remember? At that time, the old diva Tang Xian had not yet retired, and the new generation of beautiful girls Su Jinhao is also very popular. Why did Lin Yunan choose you for Li'er? Because those two people are already mature and will not respond to a newcomer at all. They know that any response they make is to help the newcomer. Only you, Xiaoling, you don't understand the twists and turns, and even if you did, you wouldn't care at all. This is what Pei Xian likes most about her. This is also the area where she is most criticized by those who oppose her. In other words, Feng Kan concluded, choosing you seems to be the most dangerous, but in fact it is the easiest shortcut to success. In addition, although Lin Yunan is not qualified to compete with Pei Xian, but with his family background, it would be difficult for Pei Xian to completely trample him. As long as he doesn't do anything that would touch Pei Xian's bottom line, such as kidnapping you, and using your fame for a little bit, Pei Xian can only turn a blind eye. Lin Yunan is a very discerning, bold, and careful person. Xiaoling had to admit that what Feng Kan said made sense, but she was still unhappy. Anyway, I don't want him to be my agent. Why? Feng Kan seemed to be patiently coaxing a child. I hate him, Xiaoling also said very childishly. Okay, let's just say you hate him. Feng Kan smiled helplessly. Then, Xiaoling, tell me, which of these agents do you not hate? Hearing what he said, Xiaoling really looked at the long list carefully. I don't know any of them. After a while, she pushed the list away unhappily. Then tell me, what kind of agent do you want? Temperament, professional level, even gender and appearance. Fang Kan was persuasive. Gender and appearance are not important at all. Of course, handsome guys and beauties are more eye-catching. Xia Xiaoling, a classmate, clapped her fingers and thought, tempers. You have to have a good temper and won't get angry at me. Of course, your professional level must be very good, the best. The person you are talking about. Fang Kan said slowly, Chu Chen. Xiaoling was shocked. Think about it carefully, isn't it? Handsome Chu Chen fits the criteria. The professional level is very good. Chu Chen meets the requirements. Good temper, although Chu Chen has a bad temper, he was definitely filial to her in the previous life. Even in the middle of a heavy rainstorm, he ran all over the city to buy her a cup of special coffee without any complaints. She really couldn't think of anything that he didn't meet in the requirements she just listed. But, Chu Chen can't do it, she said angrily, he is a scum. So, you know people but don't know their hearts. Fang Kan looked at her seriously, Xiaoling, in addition to the reasons of professionalism, vision and connections just mentioned, there is another more core reason why I recommend Lin Yunan to you. He is not a hypocritical person like Chu Chen. There are many people who are not hypocritical. Xiaoling was still unconvinced. Sister Mai Na is very sincere. Although Sister Mai Na is not as filial as Chu Chen and is ravaged by her, Sister Mai Na is definitely rushing at critical moments. Being at the forefront, treating her with all his heart and soul, thinking about everything for her, without any selfish thoughts. Because she is in Tianyi, and Tianyi's big boss happens to like you, Fang Kan said lightly, and it happens that she has not encountered the same test as Chu Chen. Chu Chen chose Pei Xian in the war between you and Pei Xian. How can you know that if one day you and Li Lei reach the most desperate stage, will Maina choose Li Lei to abandon you? I don't like you talking about Sister Maina like that. Akan Xiaoling's face darkened and she straightened her back slightly. She is my friend, but for some reason, she felt uneasy in her heart. Sister Maina would really do that? Xiaoling, you are too trusting in people. Fang Kan sighed, and then changed the subject. Well, let's put it another way. Maina is your friend, so she thinks about everything for you. Right. Xiaoling nodded. But, can you guarantee that the new agent can become your friend? You are looking for an agent for work, not to make friends, Fang Kan said. Xiaoling was slightly startled. Fang Kan was right. She left Tianyi, wasn't it because Tianyi was mixed with too many personal feelings? In the new agency, she just hopes that things can be done in a business-like manner, with everything focused on career, without too complicated entanglements. She hopes to get an agent who is purely professional. If, Fang Kan said, today there is a person like Chu Chen, who stands in front of you with humility and just the right enthusiasm, and treats you meticulously and considerately, you can tell whether he is really good to you, or whether he is like would Chu Chen abandon you at a critical moment like that? Xiaoling stopped talking. Reading people has indeed been her long-standing weakness. Then, can I tell whether that Lin Yunan is a good person? She retorted weakly. End of this chapter.